You're destroying your Silverado right now, and you don't even know it. Last week, a subscriber sent me a photo of his Silverado's engine, completely seized, $180,000 thrown in the trash. You know what caused it? A $12 fluid he never changed. And the worst part? Your mechanic will probably never warn you about this. Why? Because when your transmission explodes, he's gonna make $4 grand on the repair. Today, I'm gonna reveal the 6 fluids that GM hides in the manual that no mechanic mentions and that can save or destroy your truck. And there's one at the end of this list that 99% of Silverado owners don't even know exists. Stay till the end because I'm gonna show you exactly when to change each one, how much it costs, and what happens if you don't. Spoiler about the last fluid: if you hear a high-pitched squeal coming from the dashboard, it's over. You've got 48 hours before the damage costs thousands. And if you don't want to throw 60 grand in the trash, subscribe now, because in the next 8 minutes, you're going to learn what mechanics took years to figure out. Let's start with what nobody tells you: your 4x4's transfer case fluid. Did you know this fluid works at temperatures that reach 300 degrees and that after 50,000 miles, it basically turns into dirty water? But GM's manual says lifetime fluid. Lie. Let me tell you what happened to John, my neighbor. 2015 Silverado Z71, beautiful, spotless on the outside. He religiously changed engine oil every 5,000 miles. Filters, everything by the book, but never touched the transfer case fluid. 80,000 miles. He engages 4WD in a Wyoming blizzard. Metal grinding noise, smoke. The transfer case literally melted from the inside. Repair quote? $3,800. Know how much it costs to change the fluid? $85. Here's the secret mechanics don't tell. GM uses a fluid called AutoTrack 2, synthetic, special, and it degrades fast under stress. Every 30,000 miles, this fluid loses 60% of its lubricating properties. Signs it's time: difficulty engaging 4WD, noise when switching from 2WD to 4WD, or that dry clicking when you turn in 4WD. If you hear any of these signs, you've already passed the point. How to do it? Simple. Any shop can do it. Drain the old, put in 2 quarts of new AutoTrack 2. $80 to $120 depending on where you live. Do it every 30,000 miles. Your transfer case will last $300K without complaining. But ignore this and prepare $4 grand. Your choice. Second on the list, rear differential fluid. And this is where most people get screwed. You know that annoying whine coming from the rear when you accelerate? It's not a bearing. It's the differential crying for help. And when it stops whining, that's when you have a real problem, because it means the gears have already started eating each other. True story, I help a guy on a forum who bought a used 2017 Silverado. 95,000 miles, great price. He thought he got a deal. 2 weeks later, horrible noise coming from the rear. Took it to the shop. The mechanic drains the differential. Know what came out? Something that looked like melted asphalt. Black, thick, stinking. The fluid had turned to sludge. The gears had no teeth left. The entire differential needed replacement. $2,400. And guess what? The previous owner had never changed this fluid. 95,000 miles with the same factory fluid. Here's the real deal. GM's manual says no maintenance required, but there's fine print that says except in severe use. You know what severe use is? Towing, off-roading, mountain climbing, extreme heat, basically anything you do with a pickup. The correct fluid is 75W90 synthetic with limited slip additive if you have limited slip. Costs $60 to $100 to change. Do it every 30 to 40,000 miles. Warning signs: whining when accelerating, rear vibration at highway speed, or a burning smell when you stop. If you feel any of these, run, literally, because every extra mile is permanent damage. And these first 2 are nothing compared to what's coming, because the next fluid I'm going to show you is responsible for 40% of Allison transmissions that die before 150,000 miles. and I bet you've never heard of it.
Number 3, torque converter fluid. And pay attention because this is pure gold. Everybody changes transmission fluid, but nobody does a converter flush. You know why? Because it requires special equipment. And lazy mechanics won't do it because it's work. Let me explain the problem. When you change transmission fluid in a regular service, they only drain what's in the pan. That's like 40% of total fluid. The other 60%? It's trapped in the torque converter. Old fluid, contaminated, full of metal particles. So you put new fluid that mixes with the old. Result? It's like trying to clean a dirty pool by pouring clean water on top. Doesn't work. I met a guy in Texas, does transmission work for 30 years. He told me 70% of Allison problems he sees are from degraded fluid in the converter. 70%. What happens? The converter starts slipping. You feel the transmission slip when accelerating, shuddering between gears. And when you finally notice, the entire transmission is compromised. $5,000 to $7,000 in damage. The solution? Complete flush with proper machine. Not expensive, $200 to $300. But it has to be done right. Look for a transmission specialty shop, not the corner guy. Do this every 60,000 miles in normal use. Every 40K if you tow heavy. Your Allison will last 400,000 miles without drama. Ignore it and prepare about $6,000 for complete rebuild sooner than you think.
Fourth fluid, brake. And I know what you're thinking. Obviously, everybody knows that. Wrong. Nobody changes brake fluid until the pedal hits the floor on a downhill. Then it's too late. Brake fluid is hygroscopic. Know what that means? It absorbs water from air humidity every single day. And after 2 years, your brake fluid has up to 3% water mixed in. So what, you ask? Water boils at 212 degrees. Brake fluid boils at 400. When you go down a mountain towing 8,000 pounds, your brakes easily hit 600 degrees. If there's water in the fluid, it turns to vapor. You hit the brake, and nothing. Soft pedal, no pressure. You and your family going down the mountain at 60 miles per hour with no brakes. Happened to a cousin of mine in Colorado. Going down mountain with a trailer, brakes disappeared. He managed to stop using engine brake and emergency brake, but came so close to a cliff that he sold the trailer afterwards. Trauma. Know what the problem was? Original brake fluid. A 2012 Silverado with 70,000 miles. 8 years without changing brake fluid. The mechanic tested it, 4% water in the fluid. Changing brake fluid costs $80 to $120. Takes 40 minutes. Do it every 2 years. Mileage doesn't matter. 2 years. Use DOT3 or DOT4, never mix. And if your Silverado was over 3 years old and you've never changed it, do it tomorrow. Not a suggestion. It's life or death.
Now come the last two, and these are the ones that'll make you angry because they're absurdly cheap to change, but the damage they cause when ignored is catastrophic. And the last one on the list? I bet $100 you have no idea it exists.
Fifth, power steering fluid. On older Silverados, obviously, new ones are electric, but I top it off when it's slow. No, topping off doesn't do anything. You have to change it. Power steering fluid works under insane pressure, over 1,500 psi. Over time, it oxidizes, gets acidic, and then starts eating the pump and steering box seals from the inside. First sign, groaning when turning the wheel. Second, heavy steering at low speed. Third, leak from the steering box. Fourth, $1,800 in repairs. I had a 2004 Silverado, never changed this fluid. At 140,000 miles, it started groaning. I ignored it because it was working. 6 months later, leak from the box. Changed the whole box, $1,400. Know how much it cost to change the fluid? $40. 40.
Do it every 50,000 miles. Use GM Original Power Steering Fluid or equivalent. Any shop does it, takes 20 minutes. If you already hear groaning, change urgent. Might not have caused damage yet, but if you leave it one more month, it'll cost 20x more.
And we've arrived at the last one. The fluid that 99% of Silverado diesel owners don't even know exists. Turbo cooling fluid. If you have a Duramax, pay close attention, because this can save or destroy your engine. Your Silverado's turbo has a separate cooling system, small, with its own fluid. And this fluid works at insane temperatures. We're talking 1,000 degrees on the hot side of the turbo. When this fluid degrades, the turbo overheats. The seals melt. Oil enters the turbine. Then you have two options. New turbo, $3,000, or blown engine, because the turbo sent oil into the intake and caused runaway, $15,000. I met a guy who lost an entire Duramax LML because he ignored this. The turbo failed, sent oil to the intake, the engine accelerated on its own until it exploded. Total loss. $60,000 truck turned to scrap. The right fluid? Orange Dexcool, specific for high temperature system. Change every 100,000 miles. Costs $150 because it needs equipment to bleed the system correctly. Warning sign? If you see excessive white smoke on cold start, or if the turbo is making a different whistling noise, don't wait. Do the maintenance.
So, recapping. Transfer case fluid every 30K. Differential every 40K. Converter flush every 60K. Brake every 2 years. Power steering every 50K. And turbo cooling every 100K. Total prevented cost? About $700 every 50,000 miles. Know how much it costs not to do it? Between $20,000 and $40,000 in major repairs. I know it seems like a lot, but here's the truth. Your Silverado can last 500,000 miles, or it can die at 150,000. The difference? These 6 fluids nobody tells you about. Which of these had you never changed? Which one scared you the most? Comment down there because I answer everybody. And if this video saved your truck from becoming scrap, hit that like button. Next week, I'm going to show you the 5 Silverado noises that mean you have 48 hours before the engine blows. Don't miss it. See you then.